This video is brought to you by my two books, Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist and The Blues Guitar Bible. Want to learn about modes, harmony, scales, chord substitution and keys? Or maybe you're interested in supercharging your blues guitar rhythm and lead chops. Whatever you're interested in, I guarantee you will be hitting the fast lane to progress with either of these works. Both feature video demonstrations and tutorials, loads of tabs and jam tracks to play along with, and I promise you, everything is explained in crystal clear plain English. Check out the links in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. No prizes at all for guessing who that little solo was a bit of a tribute to, a tip of the hat, a homage, a tug of the forelock, if you like, to my favourite guitar player of all time, Belfast's very own Mr. Gary Moore. It was inevitable when I started doing these Monday videos, alternating one week between blues and the next week between blues and melodic rock, that we would tackle something with a Gary Moore flavour, and today is that day. It's melodic rock this week, but I may end up taking a look in the blues cycle at some of his bluesier playing as well. We'll see. My aim today, though, is to kind of give you an insight into what's going on in a piece of music like that, how you can kind of harness some of that feel for your own playing. Here's some information on that.
Solo explanation.
Okay, so in the time-honoured tradition, we'll begin by looking at the chord sequence that this kind of solo is played over. It goes like this. So it's a chord sequence that Gary returned to many times in his career. Parisian Walkways, The Loner, Still Got the Blues. You could even probably go back as far as Still in Love with You by Thin Lizzy, which isn't a million miles away from this. And it's a chord sequence which has kind of been around for absolutely ages, really. You go back to old standards like Fly Me to the Moon and Autumn Leaves, and it's basically the same kind of thing. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at the chord sequence, because this really does dictate what you're going to be playing over the top of it. Here it is again, and a familiar refrain really from me in these videos is when I start bigging up the importance of the notes that are in each individual chord. So how do you figure that out? Well, you can kind of talk about it in terms of roots and minor thirds, major thirds and perfect fifths and major sevenths and stuff like that. And that's fine, but the problem is there, if you're not already fluent in that language, and if you are, you probably don't need this bit explaining to you. If you're not already fluent in that language, what you've got to do then is decode that jargon and make some sense of it. I, on the other hand, learned it the other way around. For example, I learned that I stumbled across this a long time ago, can't give you the exact details, but I learned that a B minor chord obviously has a B note in it. And then if you map the notes in the chord out on the same string, then you've also got a D note in it and an F sharp note in it. Those are the three notes in a B minor chord. And if we listen to a B minor chord, like that, you can hear that's what's going on. And you can very easily see the relationship that exists between those notes. Your root note, then the note 3 frets above it on the same string, then the note 4 frets above that on the same string. That's the way I teach these basics to all of my students these days. Learn the actual physical, looking at the neck, mapping it out on a single string, relationship between the notes, and then you can, kind of dress that up in the relevant jargon at a later point. Major chords are the other way around. Okay, a major chord, for instance, if we haven't really got any major chords in here, just plain old major chords. So I'll use a D major. Here we go. Here's a D chord. Okay, if I want to know what notes are in a D chord, then I can find there's a D note, which is the root, then there's an F sharp, and then there's an A. So I've got D, I've got F sharp, and I've got A. Once again, we can see the relationship between those notes in the chord. Root note, the note 4 frets above that, the note 3 frets above that. And so very easy to remember, minor chord is root plus 3 plus 4, major chord is root plus 4 plus 3. Easy kind of thing to just get your head around and memorize. What about these other chords then? We've got B minor and E minor. We know how to work out what's going on in those chords. A11th, what's that? Well, this is once again where Uncle Theory comes to the rescue. And A11 is basically, well, let's start off with a G chord, okay? I play a G chord like that, but then just kind of slim it down to, the top 4 strings and play an A note underneath. That is an A11th chord. Arguably there's an E note in there as well, but that's not crucial to the overall sound of the chord. But that is basically a quick cheap way of getting an A11th chord or any 11th chord. Just where's your root note? Okay, tell the bass player to play that. You play the major chord, 2 semitones or a tone below. D major 7. Again, D major 7 is just an F sharp minor chord. And we know how to work out what notes are in any minor chord, 3 plus 4. And then you play a D root note underneath that. So you don't even have to do that. If you're playing in a band, and if you're playing electric guitar, chances are you are playing in a band or playing with some kind of bass line accompaniment. then that D note can be the responsibility of the bass player. And there's just a little F sharp minor triad, sounds like an F sharp minor. Play a D bass note underneath it. There's your D major 7 chord. You can pull a similar trick with the G major 7, it's just a B minor chord, but with the bass note shifted to a G. But oh, this next one looks a bit scary, doesn't it? C sharp minor 7 flat 5. It's a long name, it's got lots of syllables in it, that's bound to be a tricky chord. Well, not really. All you got to do there is play an E minor chord, but place a C sharp note underneath it. There we go, and that takes us to an F sharp 7, and then that little kind of run of chords in the final bar. So you can break all of these chords down into basically just being simple majors or minors in reality, and if you do that, then the chord notes that you get are B minor, well you can see B, D, F sharp, then E minor is E, G, B. There's that A 11th, which is a G, B, D, which is a G chord with, as I say, arguably an E note in there as well. You don't have to play it, but it kind of, it can be put in there. D major 7, G major 7, all the rest of the chords, you can see the notes that are used there. And the key to this is, all I'm thinking of when I'm playing over this, I'm thinking my bog standard minor pentatonic positions in B minor. And all of the other shapes. Up and down the neck. Here's this one. And finally this one. Okay, I'm just thinking of those shapes, and I'm using those patterns there to join the dots between chord tones. So I think I started off with bending from the C sharp. Okay, it's not in the B minor pentatonic, but it's an easy enough note to add in. Bending the C sharp up to the D over the B minor chord. Landing on the G note there in the next chord, the over the E minor. Then I think I went somewhere up here. Bending up to the E, which can be in that A11 chord. And then up to the F sharp note in the D major 7, and then I think I played like that, bending this A note up to a B here for that G major 7 chord. Maybe landing on the G note there that's in that C sharp minor 7 flat 5, which, as we said, is just an E minor with a C sharp bass note. Maybe I think I maybe put the E note on there as well. F sharp 7 next. Oh, we've got an A sharp in here, so let's include that. Maybe the C sharp, and then something like that. That's probably not exactly what I played, because I did that, you know, a little while ago that I actually recorded that solo, but a couple of days. But that's sort of the way I'm thinking. I'm looking at the fretboard and I'm thinking whereabouts are the notes that I can target over each individual chord. The way to find them, well, you know, it's just a case of there is no magic bullet to learn the fretboard. Any of these methods that you might see advertised on YouTube, learn the fretboard in 10 minutes. In my experience, I've yet to kind of come across one that works. You know, just start off by learning where your bar chords are, you know, because that'll teach you this string and this string as well, because those are the two strings, the 5th and 6th strings, where we locate bar chords. If you know the 6th string, then you automatically know the 1st string, because they're tuned to the same note, 2 octaves apart. So it's just this kind of middle ground, the 2nd, 3rd and 4th strings. You can use octave patterns to locate from the 6th string onto the 4th string, and from the 5th string onto the third string, and then that only leaves the second string. Well, you know, you can sort of get an octave thing out of that as well by just using this shape here. So that note on the A string will be replicated an octave higher by this note. So 9th fret on the A string is going to be the same note as the 7th fret on the B string. Okay, that's one way you can do it, or you can start thinking, well, okay, I know that this is a D note here, so I know that this has to be a C sharp here. I know that this is a B note here. I also know that this is a B note at the 12th fret on the B string. And I know that 2 frets below B I've got an A. You can just start piecing it together. It's not a difficult thing to do, but it is time consuming to begin with. Okay? The more you do it, the more slick you will get at it, the more rapid you will be able to arrive at what a particular note is. There's no two ways around this. If you want to play in this melodic rock style, then you just have to know where the notes are on your instrument. I've had conversations with people who play other instruments, multi-instrument. There's one chap in particular who plays violin, piano and bagpipes as well as guitar. And he made the point that the guitar is the only instrument where you can get to a very high level of proficiency without understanding where any of the notes are. You can just memorize patterns and stuff, but eventually your head gets too full of shapes and patterns, and it's just easier to learn where stuff is. But it's just, you've got to kind of make that switch to that way of thinking. Anyway, I'll stop proselytizing about note locations. They are useful. You need to know them, especially if you want to play in this, as I say, this melodic rock style. So, there you go. Now you know what to do. Go away and have some fun with it. And as always, you'll find a full tab for the piece of music in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with a clip of me playing it, that explanation you've just seen there, and a jam track to play along with yourself. That's all up on my Patreon page. There's the address, link in the description. As I'm sure you know by now, it's $3 or roughly £3, depending on what the exchange rate is doing, every month, and you get access to all of these additional goodies that go along with these YouTube videos that I post. I usually put about at least 3 tabs and jam tracks and stuff up per week. So, you know, £3 a month, 3 jam tracks, 3 tabs, 3 lessons per week, basically. What's not to like? What I will just say is that if that explanation just seemed a little bit scary and a little bit theory heavy, then I'm afraid you just do have to confront the harsh truth of it, that if you want to play in that style, or any, frankly, melodic rock way of doing it, then that is knowledge that you need to have. I suppose you could, you know, just do it by trial and error, hit and hope, suck it and see, just fling a load of notes around and see what, you know, what works. But I can tell you that there's one chap who I would put my next month's takings on the fact who didn't do it like that, and it's this fella. I honestly believe that Gary knew what he was doing. He was far too adept and fluent on the instrument to not know what he was doing, to be relying upon feel or intuition or any of the other words that many guitar players use as surrogates for guesswork, which is often what is meant when people use terms like that. As I said in that little explanation there, it doesn't really matter whether or not you know the textbook terminology to describe what you know. What matters is that you know it. And with that, we'll draw the video to a close for today. I hope you've enjoyed this little Gary Moore themed lesson, and if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. Why not drop me a like as well while you're at it? And don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time, where we drink beer and talk about music and guitars and many, many other things. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.